Good morning. Welcome to the Hacking Self Storage podcast. I'm going to change the name. It's going to be Mr. Self Storage, in it, obviously, at some point. Anyway, welcome to today's podcast. What we do on Mondays is we go through my week in numbers. Tomorrow, what we're going to talk about is I've just done a training on my course that I absolutely love. And by the way, I'm not trying to sell the course because it's not open, yada yada blah, 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 blah. But it's a great training. I absolutely love it. It's something. It's like doctor. It's how to diagnose what's your problem, where's your problem, and we've briefly talked about it in some degree on the podcast before. But what I'm going to do is delve a little bit deeper. Obviously, there's diagrams and everything. Can we go? There's like a 2-hour training. It's just over an hour and a half training inside the course, but what I'm going to do is give you an overview so you get the gist of it and you understand it all tomorrow. Obviously, inside the course, don't worry if you pay for the course because you're still getting the better version inside the course because there's only so much I can articulate on a podcast over the course. And yeah, I know you guys have paid for it. Yeah. Anyway, so tomorrow, really excited for that. That's going to be really, really good. I've just turned on my heater right next to me and I'm absolutely bloody roasting. It's too hot. Even though like steam's coming out my mouth because it's bloody cold outside. Anyway, so today we go from our week in numbers. Can I just say that if you are not signed up to mrselfstorage.com, sign up there. I'm going to get a doody all website all sorted, singing, dancing, get it all done and dusted soon. But right now, all it is a landing page to put your email address in, and I will send you across a daily email Monday to Friday. It's got Mondays, it's got all the things that happened during the last week, all the conversions, the revenue, etc., etc., etc. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we've got a self-storage tips, something that'll help grow your business. And then we've got the weekly, so we've got a daily news from the self-storage world, from around the world. We focus primarily on the UK. So when there's a UK story, we will always focus on that. But a lot of the times there's no UK stories, so we focus around the world with that. We also give you all my week in numbers as well. And there's some other goodies in there as well. So mrselfstorage.com. Okay, let's get to it, Install Nation. Last week's headlines. Ultimately, I put on the community, the self-storage community on school. I actually put on that because I'm starting to ask what 3 things happened to you this week. What positive things happened to you? What was you happy about, etc. We go coffee. I'm just putting it there because it's a bit too hot with a heater, believe it or not. And I didn't mention anything to do with work because primarily my primary focus, and it's wrong, but subconsciously, I always focus on Willoughby. If Willoughby has a good week, in my head, I think we've had a good week. If Willoughby has a poor week, then I think we've had a poor week, when really that's not fair because Willoughby is our biggest site by far, but it's not the be all and end all. We've got 5 other sites apart from Willoughby. So Willoughby's had a very, very poor week. However, we've had over 100 quotes, which is good. It's good. There's been times this week when we wanted more quotes. So 100 quotes, anything above it is okay. The conversion rate has been 24% quotes to reservations. So we've only done 26 quotes, which isn't fantastic. Sorry, 26 reservations, which isn't fantastic. So I'm not over the moon with that because we always want to do over 30, especially it used to be 30 with 5 sites. Now we've got 6 sites, then we need to be pushing over 30, a few over 30, which we're far off that last week. And by the way, it's only a small sample size. Previous weeks we're doing really, really well. Move-ins we've had 24, so that's only a conversion rate of 22. Again, below where we want to be. But like I said, we took over 50 grand last week as well. So when taking over 50 grand, ultimately, that's the biggest metric. However, remember that revenue is a lagging indicator. We're taking 50 grand that's last week because of what we did previously. It's a lagging indicator. So it all depends on the move-ins. The future revenue depends on the move-ins and reservations we do this week. So we've got to be very, very mindful of that. Overall, we was 870 square foot up for the week, which is really golden. However, especially in October, but what we've got to take into consideration is we have a new site. Glasgow, so you'd expect to be square foot positive most weeks, not all weeks, because you will get some move outs every now and again. But because when you're in lease up, you will be net square foot positive, and not all square foot is equal. Remember that not all square foot is equal, because 160 square foot to me, gaining up, for example, 640 square foot, which I think we've done this week at Glasgow, it's not equal to gaining 400 square foot at Willoughby, because the price per square foot is a container site. It's very, very cheap at the minute. And so I don't know what happened there. I think I got a message. Hopefully we're still recording. I will just double check because we've had this before where I am not recording. Let's have a look, audio. I'll be 2 seconds. Yep, we're still recording. Do you know what I did over the weekend? I recorded a training for my course. Spent 72 minutes on it. I didn't bloody record. Well, I did, but the audio wasn't there. I was like, that was Saturday morning. Anyway, never mind. We sorted it. We did it again. And so I'm very, as soon as I hear any bibs, I'm like, oh no, is it recording? Is it not? Are we working? So yeah, not all square foot is equal. 400 square foot to me, the price per square foot at Willoughby is a lot greater than the price per square foot at Glasgow. So you've got to bear that in mind that just because we're up 870 square foot for the week, it doesn't mean we've had an amazing week because you would expect to be up at Glasgow. So we can almost take away that 640 square foot. I'd rather have it than not, but it's not equal to what would happen at Willoughby, what would happen at Beverley, what would happen at Clough Road, for example, because they're a lot higher price per square foot. Okay, let's have a look at, this is a new section, by the way, the Google Analytics section that I'm going to do. It's more in depth now. Previously, it wasn't as in depth, and you'll understand why when we talk about tomorrow's training, when I go through tomorrow. Right, Google Analytics, we had 310 new users. So our website traffic was massively down last week, massively. So that is a little bit of a worry. Like I'll talk about tomorrow, traffic is one of the most important things. If you don't get traffic in your funnel, it doesn't matter if you've got the best converting website, the best converting sales team, all that's irrelevant. Because if you're not getting traffic, then it doesn't matter how good the rest of the funnel is, so you can forget it. Right, Storm our website. We don't include Beverley 24 because that's a different website. We had 310 new website visitors, 102 quotes because we're taking off a Beverley quotes. We aim for 20% of our website visitors to get a quote. So we got 102 from quotes from 310 website visitors. So we're over 20%. So tick, that part of the funnel is working. We got 25 reservations for the week because we take off the Beverley reservations. And that means we're over 25% of our quotes to reserve. So we're just about 25%. We obviously round up and down. So we're at 25%. So we had 102 quotes and we reserved 25. So we're 25% of our quotes reserved. So that part of the funnel is a tick as well. That's what we want to be hitting. We want to be hitting 25. It's very, very simple. Website visitors, 20% of those get a quote, and 25% of the people who got a quote should reserve. And we'll go into more depth tomorrow when I actually go, Dr. Dean, and do all that. Anyway, so overall, 8% of our new website visitors reserve, which is amazing. However, you will not hold that. You will not continue to do that. It's not replicable. You can do it short term, but 8% of your new website visitors convert into a reservation just doesn't happen. 5%, 5 to 6% is where you should be. 5% is maintainable. And I've spoken to Gavin Shields, about his websites and stuff, and 5% is really, really good. And it's better than, I think, most of their sites that they can see. However, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be hitting 5%, because that's what I see in our world and our statistics and our numbers. And if I'm seeing it, there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing it. So again, we'll go into that tomorrow, but anything 5% and above is really, really good. So we aim for 5%. That's what I teach my people inside my course. 5% is perfect. So we hit 8% last week. So the funnel is working this week. And by the way, if it doesn't work this week, I don't make any decisions because it's short term. We don't make any long-term decisions based on short-term results, small sample sizes. So we've got to be careful there. Right, revenue. We took, I think we just took, 50,309. So I'm going to round up and down to make it simple. Glasgow took £1,200. Mansfield took £5,000. Wrexham took 6,400. Clough Road took 7,200. Beverley took 7,500. And Willoughby took 23,100 last week. So a good week for revenue. Right. Okay. So who was the top dog last week? We know we did 26 reservations, 2 booked online. So that's 8% of revenue. Reservations were booked online. Jack hit 14 reservations. Awesome work, Jackie boy. However, don't forget that Angela was away. and so was James at the Fidessa conference. So they was missing in action for 2 days and obviously get days off. So there was only really in one day last week. Just one sec while I get a swig of tea. Okay, so it's a swig of coffee. I expected, when I said tea, I expected to taste tea then. I was like, oh, it's coffee. Anyway, right, Willoughby, weekly figures, 29 quotes. We got 8 reservations, so not a great conversion. Well, it is actually a conversion rate. It's pretty good. I'm looking at the moving conversion, which isn't good. 28%, which is okay. We want to be aiming for 30. We do really. I know I said 25% before, but 25% is a benchmark. We want to be above that. So the move-ins was 4. We got 4 move-ins. So that's a 14% conversion rate. So that's not good. The Luton van was rented out 8 times. So one day it was rented out twice, which is double bubble, which is great. Square foot moved in, 750 square foot moved in. Square foot moved out, 1,330. We expected a really good week this week at Willoughby, and we didn't get it. That's why all of a sudden I think, can't be a very good week because we moved out loads. And so Willoughby is our highest performing site, especially, well, when it comes to, it's our biggest site, but it's also our best site when it comes to price per square foot because it's a nice area. And yeah, it's just a lovely area, affluent, etc. And so we get a higher price per square foot in Willoughby. And so when Willoughby has a bad week, it has a bigger knock-on effect to me than the other sites because of how big it is, number one, and also the price per square foot. So we lost 580 square foot there. We've got 335 internal rooms occupied. We've got 52 containers occupied. It says we've got 2 car parking spaces rented, but I went there yesterday and I got told we've only got 1. So I'll have to check that out. Store occupancy, 78.63. We need to get that back up before the end of October for the winter period. Weekly average merchandise sales per moving is 25 quid. So that's on point. The average insurance was down as well. The average insurance was 5,750. We want 6,000 per move-in. This next week, this could be good. We've got 9 move-ins due for 850 square foot. We have got no move-outs due. So I'm confident in saying this week we're going to be over 1,000 square foot up. And that means we're going to be over 80% occupancy. We've got no square foot due to move out. Nobody. Will that happen? Definitely not. We'll definitely get square foot moved out. However, we are definitely going to get more than 850 moving in. I'm like, oh, are we really? I hope so. We should do. Because when I see these figures at Willoughby especially, we normally move in an extra 400-ish square foot. So fingers crossed there. Clough Road. 32 quotes at Clough Road. We got 5 reservations. That's a conversion rate of 16%. We got 5 move-ins, a conversion rate of 16%. We moved in 525. We moved out 350. And so the net result was 175 up. The average insurance was poor. It was 4,600. We aim for £6,000 on average per move-in. This next week should be a good week. We've got 3 move-ins due for 400 square foot. We've got 2 move-outs due for 125 square foot. And by the way, I know on a Monday, I just fire figures at you. And so hopefully you can keep up. And because I know I do also talk fast. And yeah, I just try to get all the information to you guys as quick as possible. Right, Beverly, only 5 quotes. I've noticed that in Beverly, we are no longer top spot for SEO, which is concerning. But something we're going to have to look into. But do you know what? This is the problem here. When you're 91% full, you kind of think, it's all right. It's all right. And then you look at it later. And so I'm as guilty as most, by the way. So I always say that there will be, even if you're competing with the best operator in the world, there will be certain aspects, certain places where they drop the ball and you can come in and you can outmaneuver them. You can do a better job in certain aspects. Again, Beverly, a new operator's come in and done a better website and a better website to Google. I don't actually think it's a better website, but it's a better website to Google. Ultimately, Google is the market, is the market, is the market. If Google says it, then ultimately we're servants to Google, which is ridiculous, but we are. And so, somebody's come in and we've rested on our laurels. We haven't touched our website for God knows how long. And they've come in and they've took top spot, and then even though they took top spot, you're thinking, well, don't really hurt us. They're doing pay-per-clicks and we aren't. Doesn't really hurt us. I'm like, It's crazy. But only when it starts hurting me will I do something about it. So again, that's reactive. I'm giving myself a little pep talk here. This is reactive, not proactive, against everything I teach. So do what I say, not what I do. But Beverly's performed well for years and years and years. But it's probably a reminder to everybody, just because it once was performing good, it's not an indication to future performance. And so we've got to be on the ball all the time. And maybe Beverly is where I'm slightly just coming off the boil a little bit. So we've got to be very, very careful. However, next week, we had one reservation at Beverly, 20% conversion rate, no move-ins, no move-outs, 82 units occupied, 91% store occupancy. We've got two move-ins due this next week for 125 square foot. That'll be a 75 and a 50, and we've got no move-out, so we'll be a lot higher than 91% next week. Wrexham, amount of quotes. Get a swig of coffee, not tea. Amount of quotes, 10. Amount of reservations, 3. Move-ins, 6. So that's a conversion rate of reservations to quotes of 30%. And a conversion rate of quotes to move-ins was 60%. By the way, Wrexham has smashed it this week. Absolutely goddamn well smashed it. 1,200 square foot moved in at Wrexham. Best week ever for Wrexham. It beat every other site. Wrexham did. Wrexham. Square foot moved out was 430. Net result is 770. So we're 770 square foot up. The average insurance rocketed past every other site as well. Average insurance £9,166. Incredible. Although next week we're due to move in nobody and we're due to move out 125 square foot. Mansfield had a poor week. What is going on, Mansfield? 21 quotes. We did 7 reservations. That's 33% reservations. So that's good. We did 6 move-ins. So that's a conversion rate of 29%, which is good. We moved in 430 square foot, which is bad. We want to be moving in 750 a week at Mansfield. We moved out 565. So the net result was 135 square foot in the negative. We've got 166 internal rooms occupied. We've got 24 containers occupied. We've got 15 car parking spaces occupied. And the store occupancy is 72%. We've got insurance is average of £5,000. Oh, sorry, 4,666. I rounded up. This next week, we've got 2 move-ins for 175 and 0 move-outs. Mansfield, I'm not too concerned, about the move-ins and move-outs, because ultimately we are 72% full and we are aiming to do the last and final fit-out at Mansfield, which is 38%, I think, of a building. We're due to do that. It's going to be finished by March time next year. So we've got all the way to March. And we obviously, if we go over 20% more in occupancy, we're going to be 92%. So I'm not too concerned. Now we're going to start delving into revenue management a bit more at Mansfield, increasing people's prices, taking the offers away, demand pricing, etc., and really squeezing the price per square foot we get. And remember, I feel okay saying that because the price people move in at isn't the real price that we want to charge. It's the introductory offer, if you like. And so we're going to do a little bit of revenue management at Mansfield. Glasgow, amount of quotes, 10. We had 2 reservations. Not great, really. 20% conversion rate at Glasgow, especially when we're so cheap. I think we're 8 weeks half price or 4 weeks half price. And we're only charging £30 plus VAT for a container, which is really cheap. I think it's really cheap anyway. And so I would be expecting a bigger amount of reservations. We had 3 move-ins last week, but one person took an extra room, but it's a 30% conversion. So we moved in 640 and we moved out nobody. I mean, why would people move out? Because they're hardly paying anything anyway. And it's a great position as well. 26 containers rented out. We are currently 55% occupied, 55.32%. Average insurance was good. It was £7,000 last week per new move-in. So which is really good. We've got no move-ins due, but we've got 1 move-out due. But that move-out has been due to move out for the last 3 or 4 weeks, if you notice, it's been on the figures. So I think that Glasgow is a real slow burner. Not a slow burner, it's consistently performing. It's so it means that we are doing, I'm just getting a calculator out. So we've got 26 containers rented, 160 square foot. So we've got 4,000 square foot occupied. So yeah, it's consistently doing over 1,000 square foot extra a month. So which by anybody's, it's good. It's okay. I did speak to somebody last week who is moving in. They're moving in 20 containers a month, which is phenomenal, I think. Really, really good. And here we're moving in, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 containers, depending on what month. And we're really trying to ramp it up a little bit. So it is, I think it is a slow burner, but it is slow. I mean, when you say 26 containers rented, it'll feel much different when you say 30, when we got 30 containers rented out. And we are 55% full. So at some point, we are going to have to start thinking about developing the extra part of the site because we can only fit in probably 102, 3, 4 containers in there ultimately, and then we'll have to double stack, etc. But it'll be really good. I reckon this time next year, this site will be comfortably taking, I don't know how much, but I reckon this site will be a £200,000 a year profit site. That's what within in time it will do. Just all you got to do with self-storage is add self-storage, add time equals profit. It will fill up over time. But the only question mark is, depending on how good an operator you are, depending on what you're doing correct and wrong, is how quick it goes from empty to full. That is the only determining factor because you'll always get to that point of full, or you should, unless you're absolutely shocking operator, you will always get to that point. And so it just depends on how quickly you do actually get to that point. And Glasgow, I've really took. I haven't had much say in Glasgow, and there's loads of extra things that we could do. Again, we leave when you get bigger. I was saying this on the course yesterday when I was doing a training. The problem is, if I look at myself 3 years ago and how scrappy I was, and the things I used to do to get customers, and now look at the things I do now to get customers, we've become lazy. We have without doubt become lazy because what we do now is we rely on Google because we know Google gets us results. And so the bigger you get, the lazier you get because there's other things going on and you've got to balance a cash flow forecast. You're doing management accounts. You're doing all the other stuff. Where before none of that mattered. The only thing that mattered was getting occupancy, getting money coming in the door. But now you've got more money in the bank and you've got a little bit, don't get me wrong, there's always cash flow problems all the time. Not cash flow problems. There's always a tightness on cash flow. We've got access to over 6 figures at the minute. But when your operating costs are so much, that doesn't feel like a big safety cushion. And so, yeah, you're always tight on cash flow, but you've got the money to do stuff. Like before, I never really had the money to spend on Google Ads. I could only spend so much a month because cash flow wouldn't allow. Now it's an open-end checkbook. I can spend what I want. So all we do if we're struggling for customers, we just turn on more Google Ad spends or go for a wider, broader market. And we just, it's not really what we used to do. What we used to do is be real scrappy and do guerrilla marketing and get ourselves out there as cost efficient as possible. And I look back now and think, was we better operators before? We're more professional now, but was we better? Would I like to compete against me 3 years ago? Hell no, because I used to do all the stuff that didn't cost any money. We used to go on to estate agents all the time. We used to go on to funeral directors. We used to establish relate. We used to do all that stuff. But now, because we're so busy, do we? No, we need to get back to that. And so don't get me wrong, the majority of your quotes and stuff come from Google, but sometimes it's easier just to turn on the Google ads rather than doing other things that works. And so that's where I was saying yesterday in the course, I was just saying that don't be worried about coming up against a more established operator, because I promise you, most operators, if they've been in the industry a long time, have become fat and lazy. And do you know what really woke me up to what I wasn't doing, what I used to do? Was when I saw how Hold was doing it and how Fred was doing it, how he was opening his new site. He was going around to local shops. He was being a part of the community. He was not engraving, but he was just integrating himself in that local community, going around, talking to shopkeepers, putting flyers out, doing all them things that we know works. But the problem is we don't do it anymore because you've got money in the bank, and so therefore we go for what's easy. And what's easy isn't necessarily always what's right. We can do both. And so, yeah, it's a really, really timely reminder that we can do more. Glasgow, if this was my only site and that's all I had to focus on, I think I'd be doing doubly as well, more than doubly as well, probably. Because when we look at it, 4,000 square foot in 3 months, it's all right, but it's containers. We should be doing that. And so it's good. But the problem is when you're good, good is the enemy of great. When we're good, you're like, oh, it's comfortable. I don't really need to do it. It's all right. It's not great, but it's all right. And I always say to my friends and to anyone listening to me, good is the enemy of great. Because when you're good, you've got that comfy job. You don't have to push yourself. And I always think that the reason why I'm in the position I'm in, I'm not saying I'm in an amazing position or anything, is because I never had that comfy job. I bummed out at school. I was terrible. I got chucked out of college because I was copying. And so I never could get that well-paid job. I had no option. And so I could never be good. I was always blah. And so I had to use the entrepreneurial spirit and get from where I was to where I am now, where my sisters was always good. One's a solicitor, one's a school teacher. They are more than good. They're really, really good, but they've got not time freedom. I've got time freedom now because they've always been good. They didn't need to go to great. And when you're in that good situation, when you've got that comfortable job, life is good, but it's not great. And so that's why I always say good is the enemy of great. And so Glasgow's a perfect case in point. It's good, but it doesn't have to be great. What happened at Mansfield? Mansfield, I stretched myself something rotten to open Mansfield. I honestly went back with myself saying, Dean, cash flow, ridiculous, don't do it. It's going to be £1 million setup. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. The wife was saying, don't do it. I had an investor, a friend who invested in the company. Not an investor. He wasn't. He was an investor, as in he lent me money, but he didn't have any equity. He was worried and said, Dean, are you sure you can do this? Because obviously, I want you to still keep repaying me. And by the way, we've never been one day late repaying anybody ever, even though sometimes previously, has it been tight? It meant that I can't pay myself and for a month or so. But we've always paid. We've got a great record and a great relationship with everybody who's friends and family and fools, the three Fs who we've invested in. That's a joke. We've got a great reputation. We've got a great relationship with everybody. And with Mansfield, they were saying, everybody close to me was saying, don't do it, Dean. We're good, we're good, we're good. And I was like, yeah, but it's such a great opportunity. I know we can make it work. My dad said to me, Dean, I'll back you all the way. You know, well, if you say we're going to do it, we're going to do it. But just go in with your eyes open. Are you sure this is good for you? My mum said, don't do it. My wife said, don't do it. My wife said she'd leave me if I did it. No, she will deny it. But she was saying, Dean, I can't cope with it. I don't want this. I'll tell you, I told you so. And so it was a really difficult decision. I told them I wasn't interested because I really want, and then they came back with a better deal for me. And then I was like, that's fine. It's just damn fine. Anyway, the whole point of that is that I wasn't good then. I was under pressure. And what did we do? We nailed it. We nailed it. Indoor site, more than 10,000 square foot occupied in under 3 months. Why? Because I got down and got dirty. I did what I used to do. By the way, all that is in the course as well, what we did to make Mansfield successful. And now there's no pressure on me. Glasgow's not the same. We haven't done the same with Glasgow because there's not as much pressure, which is ridiculous. I think I'm a better entrepreneur when my back's against the wall. When my back's against the wall, then I'm flying, I'm thriving. But when it's easy, it's like, yeah, we could do that, but we're good. And so the whole point is just because somebody is more established than you, I promise you, most people are in that good stage. And most people, I know full well that I would be able to outmarket. I'm pretty, it sounds like a dickhead saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If my back was against the wall and I needed to win, I'd outperform every self-storage out there. And I know I can't even look at you when I'm saying this because it's like such a dicky thing to say. But if your back was against the wall and you needed to do something, you don't know the limits of what's possible for you. You've got so much limitless ability, but we just need to tap into that. Anyway, so good is the enemy of great. Like I'm saying, I'm just having a little pet talk to myself really with Glasgow. Right, reservations for the week, 26, 25, you don't include Beverley because one was at Beverley, 24 move-ins. For health and fitness goals, smashed it last week. I did 3 gym sessions, ran 30 miles. Average steps was 20,659 and no alcohol because it's sober October. Well, when I say sober October, I've got 3 things now in October where I had to drink. I had to. My friend's 40th birthday, went to a party. We're going to Oktoberfest with all the mums and dads and schools and stuff, school friends. It's brilliant when it's VIP entrance thingy. So we've got a table, massive. There must be, I don't know, 500 people there, and it's this big circus like tent thing and a band on. So you can't go there sober. Can't not have a beer. And then me and the wife have got a night away next week as well. We got a nice bottle of wine while we got married and stuff. And yeah, so that'll be good as well. So that's drinking. So anyway, apart from that, I've only drank once in 14 days. That was my mate's 40th birthday, and yeah, we're sculpting this figure. I promised the kids I'd have a six-pack by Christmas. Otherwise, I give them 100 quid. So there. Right, my friends, I'm going to go because this has been a bloody long one and it shouldn't have been. I love you. I appreciate you. And I will see you tomorrow when we're going through that funnel, that awesome funnel that I devised. All right, my friends, love you. Appreciate you. Bye.